In today's video, I invite you to a review of the Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro, a folding fat bike on 20-inch balloon tires with full suspension and a torque sensor on the pedals. How does all that work in practice? Is it worth spending its price on this machine? What won me over and what has already managed to irritate me? You're about to find out. First, an important note. The bike for testing came straight from the manufacturer. If after watching, you decide to buy and use my link plus the discount code, you'll get a price cut and I'll grab a small commission, which I'll immediately invest in more reviews. Thanks for every click and for supporting the channel. Without that, there would be no new content. Let's roll. First impressions. Engwe offers 3 paint jobs: Mountain Green, Cosmic Black, and Northern Blue. I went for green, it caught my eye the most, but honestly, I still dream of a yellow or orange version because that sci-fi design would then be a total head-turner. At first, the silhouette struck me as odd. Small, wide wheels and a raised frame with the battery hidden inside looked nothing like the classic bikes I'd tested so far. After a few days, I decided the thing resembles a Boston Dynamics Robodog. You just want to see what it can do. And indeed, on the trail people stop me, asking what kind of thing it is because it's hard to walk past it indifferent. The Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro meets European regulations, so you can ride it legally on public roads. The aluminium frame folds in half, a magnesium alloy motor hides in the rear hub, and the maximum 75 Newton-meters of torque is felt the moment you press harder. The biggest upgrade over the previous generation is the torque sensor that replaced the ordinary cadence sensor. I'll explain the difference later in the video. Add to that 160mm hydraulic discs, an 8-speed Shimano Altus drivetrain, and a 52-volt, 16-amp-hour battery tucked into the frame. The maker says the bike fits riders from 162 centimeters to 190 centimeters and will carry up to 150 kilograms, so most of us can take it for a spin. Full suspension means even curbs stop being scary. Bike assembly. The carton the Engwe arrived in is the smallest box of all the e-bikes I've tested, yet the bike itself isn't light. 31.5 kilograms dry is a serious weight. If you want every assembly step, there's a separate instructional video linked below. There was quite a bit to do. In brief, screw on the front wheel, both mudguards with lights, fold and set the stem with the handlebar, thread the pedals, slide in the saddle, and add the rear rack. For dessert, a slight tweak of the rear brake because it rubbed out of the box. On the plus side, the paper manual, clear drawings, distinct labels, really hard to mess up. And if anything's unclear, a QR code in the booklet jumps straight to Engwe's videos. During the build, you instantly see this isn't a cheap China bike. Welds are even, the satin paint looks great, and the saddle has stitching like a sports car. The assist level module is big, the buttons click firmly, and the horn no longer sounds like an ambulance siren, but produces a pleasant muted tone. First ride. After fully charging the battery, I hit the road and straight away felt that the torque sensor changes the game. When you spin lightly, the motor merely brushes the wheels with extra power. Press harder and the bike instantly adds on and shoots forward. The response is smooth, natural, and worlds nicer than simple cadence sensors. But how exactly it works and how many kilometers you can squeeze from one battery will come later. Ride impressions. The riding position turned out exemplary. At my 182 centimeters and just under 100 kilograms, I sit confidently, with my hands resting naturally. Sure, the saddle can't match the giant sofa on the Vacole Y20 Pro, yet I have no complaints. Well-shaped, a ventilation channel, and backed by twin shocks, a spring up front, and a damper hidden in the frame. The handlebar height range is so wide that for a moment I didn't know where to stop. A few tries and my wrists stopped nagging even when off-road time passed the first 100 minutes. You need an open mind with the Engwe. The main frame sits higher than on typical folders or step-through city bikes, but as the whole bike is low, just swing a leg over the rack or tilt the machine slightly. Smaller but wide wheels and the tall bar alter cornering versus a classic MTB. Your body unloads your palms, so you steer more with hips in the bends. The center of gravity sits a tad higher than on other 20s, so on soft ground, it's worth hunting a stable spot under the kickstand. The central display is big, crisp, and doesn't wash out in full sun. On the left are two function keys for assist levels. You can feel them with your thumb, even in winter gloves. Lights get a separate button. When you switch them on, the screen dims so it doesn't blast your pupils at night. A detail that delights. Stopping. The 160mm hydraulics cut like a scalpel. You can lock the rear wheel and draw figure eights, and the front caliper lifts the bike's tail without effort, holding the full 30 kilos aloft. Confidence and modulation, top league. When you must haul the Engwe into a car or slide it under a desk, the frame latch helps. Pop the lock and the frame folds full 180 degrees, exposing the battery. Fold the stem too, and the bike shrinks to 104 by 55 by 84 centimeters. Then you can stand it in a boot or stash it in the garage for winter. Even smarter, if the bar stays upright, you can push the folded bike like a trolley, perfect for corridors and lifts without wrestling with the kilos. Just remember the charge port. In compact mode, the hinge covers it, so the pack must be charged outside the frame. I usually charge the bike standing. It's easier and faster. Challenge off-road. The Engwe got no mercy. With the crew, we took 3 e-bikes on a 60-kilometer loop, 20% asphalt, then gravel, stones, concrete slabs, and fields. Every 10k we swapped bikes, including with a 55-kilo cruiser running 2000-watt motors. The Engwe manual warns, not a hardcore off-roader. I figured if it survives this, it'll cope with any daily route. On the special sections, the green folder held a steady cruise. Average for the loop was about 30 kilometers per hour. I kept pedaling because it was real fun. Hitting deeper ruts, I leveled the cranks. The bike rides low and too bold an entry can whack a pedal on the ground. Assist worked flawlessly. Pass 1 to 3 sufficed, and the responsive thumb throttle was like a turbo button when you needed speed after a bend. On sharper bumps, the front fork sometimes bottomed with a thud, yet the 4-inch tires killed most vibrations. The biggest surprise was the rear suspension. I'd considered it a gimmick until the last 10 kilometers landed on concrete slabs. The Engwe flowed as if someone had poured asphalt between the joints, while a competing fat folder rattled its rider like a shaker. Same on a pockmarked car park. The Vakole hopped, the Engwe glided. In short, comfy geometry, strong brakes and genuinely working suspension meant I finished quicker than planned, and would happily get back on the saddle. The Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro proved that even a compact fat bike can play first fiddle, not only in the urban jungle, but also on tracks that, on paper, are far from its natural habitat. Assist, how it works and why it matters. The Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro draws juice from a removable 52-volt, 16 amp-hour battery equal to 832 watt-hours. But how that energy reaches the wheels is governed by the torque sensor. It's a tiny strain gauge in the crank spindle that instantly measures axle flex. The moment you feather the pedals, the controller knows you want a gentle roll-off and feeds minimal current. The effect feels like a discreet shove in the back. Press harder, and the electronics in a split second up the wattage. On climbs, it feels like an invisible hand hauling you up with exactly the strength your muscles lack. Because readings occur hundreds of times per second, support rises and fades exactly with your cadence, and the bike behaves as naturally as a classic one, just far lighter. Cheaper e-bikes rely on a cadence sensor. One full crank revolution and it tells the controller full gas, no matter whether you're pedaling lightly or forcefully. The result is a jerk at launch and drive on even downhill when help isn't needed. The Engwe plays in another league. It measures real pressure, so it meters power only when it makes sense and saves energy, giving longer range. You get 5 pass levels plus a throttle. In the EU version, electronics cut help at 25 km per hour, and the throttle becomes walk assist, 3 km per hour to push almost 32 kilograms. You can, however, unlock it, only off public roads. After unlocking, the throttle works like a scooter's, and each pass caps the max electric speed. That means you can add full power with the thumb exactly when you need it. Great fun off-road. After many tests, I set the assist cap at 38 km per hour. At that speed, you can still sensibly turn the cranks before they spin in air. On pure electric, the Engwe can go markedly faster. The course record is 45 km per hour, which for my weight and the bike size, I find brilliant. Tip: if you want to pedal faster than 40 km per hour, drop pass to 1. The motor helps less, real resistance returns to the cranks, and you can add a few kilometers per hour by leg power alone. A detailed guide to removing the limiter is in a separate video, link in the description. Battery and real-world range. The maker claims up to 110 km per charge. That long distance is feasible with the bike locked and cruising at low speeds. But who buys an e-bike for that? If, like me, you want to have fun and grin the whole time, blasting an unlocked bike over tough ground, you can expect 60 to 70 kilometers of real range. That's very good given my weight, the bike's weight, and the pace I ride. Summary. Who is the Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro perfect for? First, for everyone who genuinely enjoys pedaling. The torque sensor lets the motor caress every crank turn, so your legs work and the power merely smooths the gaps. Second, for people starting out with e-bikes, at this price it's hard to find so solid a package. Full suspension, hydraulics, great brakes, a proper battery and a folding frame. Plus that fine bag, though that's an extra accessory. Third, for drivers with a bigger boot, folded, the Engwe slides into a car without a struggle, and on site it unfolds in seconds. Fourth, for those who want to park the kit away after the season, the compact folded size really eats little space. Fifth, for seniors or riders getting back in shape, the bike behaves like a classic, but when the route tilts up or strength fades, just press a bit harder and you instantly get quiet, discreet help. If need be, after unlocking, the throttle gives more. Finally, for anyone planning daily commutes, the motor runs politely, a 60 to 70 kilometer range at lively pace, handles the city easily, and a full recharge takes only a few hours. Who might feel shortchanged? If you love technical single track, route jumps and stopwatch runs deep in the woods, better look for an enduro bike with longer travel and bigger wheels. Likewise, if you need a steady cruise over 40 km per hour, the Engwe is no road missile, and around 40 km per hour, you run out of gears for comfy pedaling. My conclusion: I like the Engwe Engine 2.0 Pro from the first kilometers, and today I put it at the top of my list of e-bikes for city and light off-road. It isn't flawless. Low-hung pedals limit wildness in deep ruts, and on rough stuff I'd want a longer fork, but in everyday use it excels. The torque sensor tempts you to pedal, the assist is civilized, and after unlocking the bike gains a dynamic kick that plants a huge grin. Use it wisely. If you're after a folder that combines comfort, practicality, and pure riding fun, The 2nd gen Engwe Engine should go in your notebook with a note: must test. Discount coupon. If you plan to buy this bike and use my link and discount code, you'll get a rebate, and I'll also receive a small commission that helps grow the channel. Thanks for supporting my blog and channels, details in the description. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos.